Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to check out all the 8 new sets from the Scalebreaker DLC. I'm Alcast from alcasthq.com. Make sure to subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell. You can already find all the sets on ESO-sets.com. I will put the link of each set into the description so you can simply click on it. First up, the Marsalock monster set. Gives you a stamina bonus, and then when you bash an enemy, you spew a cone of corruption dealing 8000 disease damage to enemies. This damage is increased by 5% for each negative effect the enemies have, up to 150%. So this is actually a very strong set, both in PvE and PvP, because also it's like a AoE cone when we look at it. All you need to do is bash. Every 7 seconds, it has a 7 seconds cooldown, then it goes off. As you can see, now it is 17.5k damage, but this here is the raid dummy, so it has quite a few buffs. If I actually use it on a normal target dummy without any additional buffs and debuffs, it will look slightly different. And here it did 8k. So the range is rather short, but because it's AoE, if several people combine this in one go, that's a lot of extra burst damage. The other monster set is Groomed Wolf. This both works on magic and stamina because it has weapon and spell crit, and whenever you deal critical damage, restore 1000 magicka or stamina, whichever maximum is higher. You also gain 500 of the other resource. It has a 5 seconds cooldown. That's a lot of extra resources and will be especially helpful in PvP. Because in the end, for example, when I'm a stamina character, I always need magicka as well for my utility abilities. So this is a very strong set. It basically gives you this green glow around you that you just saw. You need to keep in mind though that you need a decent amount of crit rate, right? Otherwise it will not proc a lot. The first medium set, Azureblight Reaper. When you deal damage with a damage over time effect, you apply a stack of Blight Seed to your target for 5 seconds. At 20 stacks, the Blight Seed explode, dealing 13k disease damage to the target and nearby enemies. So this is again AoE damage. That's a lot. Now the big boy question in the room: does it actually work on several targets at once? Let's see. And as you can see, if you combine this, for example, with the Marsalock monster set, that's a lot of AoE damage that is going around. And if several people have this, it's kinda strong. Did you see? Multiple went off at the same time. So this can potentially be a very powerful set. The other medium set is Dro'zakar's Claw. For every bleed effect you have on an enemy, you increase your weapon damage by 200 against them. So I just hit this dude and my Whirling Blades did 8768 damage. Let's try this again. Keep in mind, the weapon damage will not show here because it's only on that one specific target where you apply the bleeds that you will see a difference. So we had 8768. Now once this dude resets, and now it hit for 9129, so it actually gets increased, it works. There is a lot of bleed, so rending slashes, carve from the two-hander that you can use to apply another bleed, and then you have a dual wield axe and a two-hander axe, so potentially that's 4 bleeds. I'm not sure if there is some other stuff, maybe a few sets that also apply bleeds, that you could increase the weapon damage. But again, keep in mind this is only single target, and that's the reason why you do not see the increased weapon damage here. Next up, Heavy Armour, Renald's Resolve. Whenever you deal direct damage, gain a stack of Resolve for 10 seconds. Each stack increases your healing taken by 1% and your physical resistance by 420. You can only gain 1 stack of Resolve every 1 second. You can only have up to 8 stacks active. So as you can see, it starts to glow, and I can basically gain a stack every second. And as long as I keep going, it will stay on me. Now let's see, 25 and 18. Let's just take a look at here, 25. Once it goes away, it goes down to 21.7. I guess it's a decent set, but I don't really see it being used that often. Sure, you get also increased healing, but there's just better alternatives, so I don't really see this set being used that much. The other heavy armor set is Dragon's Defilement. When you take damage from a melee attack, gain a corrupting aura for 5 seconds that applies minor fracture and minor breach to all enemies near you, lowering their physical and spell resistance by 1320. That's basically the same debuff that is applied by Power of the Light. So when I get hit by a melee attack, it gives you this blue grow around, and that's basically the debuff. So the debuff is pretty huge. Is it really worth it? Not really. I mean, it's such a small amount, and when it's usually used, most of the times a support healer or a healer will use Power of the Light to apply minor fracture, minor breach. Usually in trash fights, this debuff is not really used, and there's just simply better sets that you can use during trash fights. So it is a nice change, especially now that we can use an AoE application, but I just don't see the set being used as well that much. Looking at the light armor sets, Sen's Redress, your light attacks apply the touch of Sen on enemies for 20 seconds. That's a long buff. Enemies with the touch of Sen take an additional 2% more damage for each damage or time effect you have placed on them, up to 10%. You can only receive the benefit from 1 touch of Sen per enemy. That's basically so you can stack 5 of these. Now, I was told this works for the whole group. So for example, if a healer or a magic damage dealer or just someone applies different dots, and now you do the light attack, there's so many dots. A lot of builds are dot based, so you will have the 10% extra damage. Basically almost 100% uptime. That's a lot of extra damage for the whole group. Now again, I did not test this myself, but I was told it works for the full group. So keep that in mind. We will see if they will actually change that set, because that smells a lot like power creep. Before we continue, please make sure to not forget to subscribe and hit the juicy like button. And let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of all these new sets that will be introduced in the Scalebreaker DLC. And like I said before, the links are in the description if you want to go check out all the sets on the ESO-sets.com website. Looking at the other light armor set, Hollowfang first. So whenever you critically heal or critically damage target, spawn a ball of hemoglobin at their target location. After 2 seconds, the ball explodes, restoring 3,470 Magica and applying minor vitality to you and your allies within 6 meters of the ball for 9 seconds. Increasing their healing received by 8%. This effect can occur once every 9 seconds. So let's take a look. This should be fairly easy to proc. There we go. And it explodes. That looks pretty amazing. Now again, this has a 9-second cooldown. Oh, interesting. 3,470 Magica is actually quite a bit, especially if it's applicable in terms of AoE. So everybody that stands in that zone will get that amount of Magica back, and also increase their healing for a little bit. So this set is actually pretty good, I would say. You can probably also front bar this only, and still back bar some other set, which is also very nice. So I actually really like this. In general, I really like the sets that Scalebreaker will add, because there's a lot of cool ones, but Sauce has to be careful, because when we are looking at sets like Marsalock, in PvP, instant proc damage with such a high tooltip can be quite powerful. And when we are looking at PvE, Sen's Redress with the additional 10% damage also looks fairly strong. They also reworked a few of the older sets, but I will go into these in another video, because otherwise the video will take too long. If you have any questions about the game in general, you either can join our community Discord or ask me on twitch.tv/alcasthq. I stream a lot. And if you want to see a few other Scalebreaker videos, check them out right here. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.